Welcome to the Red and Blue Review, a place you turn to for insight and analysis, and today finally someone who knows what they're talking about. Gupper and Daryl and Howie joined by Mike Pratt, the UK All-American. Mike, welcome to the Red and Blue Review.
Thank you, Gary. Howie, Birdman, good to see you all.
We're going to be talking about a lot of things with Mike. We're going to kind of look back on his storied career as a Cat and then look forward to what's been going on and what we think will happen with UK and in some cases U of L sports. I'll remind you this segment of the Red and Blue Review is brought to you by the Kentucky Office of Highway Safety, that now that we're in the summertime, guys, share the road with motorcycles. Well, Mike, up top, as we look back on your career at the University of Kentucky, I think we need to start out with the fact that Daryl was bringing in earlier. Coach Rupp really never saw you play until you were a Wildcat, right?
That's correct. Now, it may seem odd in this day and age, but Joe Hall did all the legwork. Coach Lancaster recruited certain pieces of the Deep South, but Coach Hall did it all. I mean, when he came there in '65, his first group included Phil Argento and Bobby Hiles and a couple guys that didn't make it academically. And then his second group was Casey and Issel, myself, and we had 12 guys come in at one time.
Wow.
And Coach Rupp, I think, saw the in-state guys. I know he saw Casey play in the state tournament, but he didn't go very far, no. He, not then, and he did not see Dan or myself play. And it was kind of interesting in that we still were excited about coming to Kentucky.
Yeah. Now, a kid growing up in Ohio, you obviously were close to Lexington, roughly, what, a couple-hour drive, I guess?
Yeah,
something like
back
that?
then, because the interstate wasn't completely done, it was 2.5, 3 hours. Wow.
So what was your thinking about Kentucky coming in as a high school kid? What did you know about Kentucky? Was it a big deal for you to be a Wildcat?
Not really. I grew up with Cincinnati, Dayton, and Ohio State, and the Flyers were so good back then that you really had to say if they recruited you, that was like an Ohio State.
Yeah.
In Cincinnati, you had died and went to heaven, as they say. And all three recruited me, and I didn't like Ohio State for a couple reasons, but I really liked Cincinnati, Dayton. I liked Louisville. I visited Louisville. And because they played Dayton every year, it was always a great ball game.
Right.
So I was very familiar with the Cardinals. And Bud Olson lived in Dayton for a while, and Bill, the next AD at that time, later on became AD, all lived in Dayton a while. So, I mean, there was a lot of connections there. Jim Morgan was a high school coach in Dayton, so I visited Louisville and visited Michigan, visited Indiana. Big Ten was a big deal. Visited Duke.
So why not a card then if you were being recruited? What do you recall?
No, I really don't. I think the reason I wanted to leave home, or if not, I would have gone to Dayton. But I think that when they had the Rupp's Runts, they got so much publicity across the country when typically it was your local teams back then. It wasn't national for everybody. It was your local teams. Ohio State, Miami of Ohio was very good. It was Dayton and Cincinnati. Well, Kentucky got across to everybody. I mean, they just, with that ball club, Rupp's Runts. Then I came down to watch them play. And the way they played, they ran, they shared the ball so well and shot it. And they were a small team that I could see myself playing that style. So that's that going away from home, or I'd have been a Flyer.
Yeah. You know, Mike, when I look back on your playing career, I want to ask about some of the guys that you played against. I'm thinking about when you played LSU, and Maravich had 64 points, and Issel had 51. Tell me about that.
It was fun to watch.
And you must have just been watching while those guys throwing at 120.
Let's put it this way. LSU came in not playing defense, and we decided not to. We knew we could outscore them. As long as you had Big Dan, everything was fine. You threw it in there, and he went to work, and he worked the boards, and got to the foul line as good as anybody. I always tell Kenny Walker, I say, Kenny, you and Issel are amazing at getting to the foul line and converting. And I said, so many big guys don't understand what that means. And those two guys were terrific. Dan was sensational at that throughout his career, professionally or in college. He was terrific. And we played we played against North Carolina, Larry Miller, Charlie Scott, that whole Grubar, Bunning, that whole Carolina team was terrific. Played them every year. And we played Ohio State in the NCAA. We played Dayton every year with Don May in that group. We started the Indiana series with a guy by the name of Joe Cook, who was one of their all-time leading scorers for a while. Toledo, Ohio. He and I played against each other in the All-Star game. We played a lot of people. I mean, we played Duke, and we had Randy Denton, and Bucky Waters coached the team, and this was before Krzyzewski, obviously, and Bill Foster. But Coach Rupp didn't we didn't go very far, but nobody went very far then.
Right.
Okay, nobody went very far. But we dedicated Miami's new gym. I was hurt and missed that game. My sophomore year, we went to Michigan. Rudy Tomjanovich.
Oh,
That
my
name
goodness,
ring a
yeah,
bell?
absolutely.
Had a guy named Dennis Scott that played from Toledo. Was a very good player. Played in the ABA a little bit. We went up there and dedicated that gym. They're still playing in it. And I had gotten the flu and came out of the hospital and went up there and played a little bit. Didn't play a lot. So we, playing didn't bother him. He would surely like to have him. We opened my sophomore year in Greensboro against Carolina.
Yeah.
Okay? And we played Carolina in Charlotte. The neutral game was designed by Coach Rupp.
Absolutely right. Now, what about your own playing days? You've told me stories before about what it was like going on the road in the SEC and the things that fans could get away with that obviously they couldn't get away with nowadays.
Well, we were a very disliked team in that league, no question. Across any place we played, there were people that would follow us, that loved us, and then the opposition typically didn't like us a whole lot. Yeah, the SEC seemed to be a bigger deal to them because Kentucky had won it for so long.
Yeah.
So people would throw things at you. The first Big Orange incident happened my sophomore year. Right. We came out on the floor and they bombarded us with oranges. And they beat us by 23 points, the worst loss that Coach Rupp had in his career. That's the last game we lost till the regional finals. They came back to Lexington. This is a great story, is that we're playing them, and the league championship's on the line. You have to win it to go forward.
Yeah.
At that time, the SEC didn't send anybody to the NIT. And the NIT had 16 teams. The NCAA had 24 guys. That's all.
Yeah.
Okay? So we had to win, or they had to win, and it was like 3 games left, and they're out there warming up, and all of a sudden the student section, sold out as usual, rose up and started throwing oranges on the floor. Okay? So, the Tennessee guys were ducking and dodging, so they came out, started cleaning it up. Coach Rupp left the bench. I'll never forget it. And we're standing there by the bench now because they pulled all the teams off. He shuffles up and gets to the PA announcer, grabs the mic, and asks the student section to please calm down and be nice and treat these people, with respect, Put it down, came back toward us. And he got real close to us, and he looked at everybody standing there and just winked at us like that. About 2 minutes later, come on, here come the oranges again. The oranges are on the floor again. So the game's like 15 minutes late getting started, and that's where from then on it was orange up. Big orange sucks, and all those things that came from it. Oh, it was brutal. So. At Auburn, it was a small place. They'd try to pinch the hair on your legs. They'd throw things at you. They'd flip you off. Vanderbilt.
There's still people trying to pinch your hair on your legs, Mike. It just hasn't stopped.
Maybe a few years ago, but no. Vanderbilt, a place of high academic institution.
Sure.
Yeah.
They
very
used
esteemed.
very esteemed. They used to flip you off. They used to throw things at you.
But they did it with class.
Well, they knew sign language.
Well,
That's one
they
of the
did it,
classes.
then denied it.
Hey, I want to go back to the game against Jacksonville when they had Artis Gilmore, regional final, and just about everybody wearing blue fouled out of that game. Tell me what you recall about that. That was one step from the Final Four, right?
Well, first time I had ever played against a 7-footer. Henry Finkel of Dayton I had seen, but I didn't play against Henry. The Artis and Pembroke Burroughs, terrific. They played zone, and they utilized those big guys so well. It was really interesting the way they played the game. So we're up and down. We're struggling a little bit with them in the first half. We're starting to make a run. It's a close game. And they took a charge on Dan. Now, we had accumulated fouls, so we're playing man-to-man. And we're accumulating fouls across the board. But they took a charge on Dan Issel before he crossed midcourt on the other side from the ball. This Von Wedeking stepped in front of him. And they called a charge on Dan. It was irrelevant to the play. And Dan just ran over him. He saw him and ran over him. He said later on, I just saw him. I just ran over him. What's he doing? And we're, it's a close game. But then after that, Larry Steele fouled out and I fouled out. And Coach Rupp went with his young sophomore class, Randy Knoll, Mark Soderberg, Tom Parker, Kent Hollenbeck. These guys brought us back to where Jacksonville's got to make foul shots at the end of the game to win. It was one of those. It was 106 to 102, I think. And the reason we were in it late because these sophomores, and they were really a talented group. But that's what I remember.
How does it sit with you, Mike? Was that an opportunity lost? Do you feel like that was your championship that you should have gotten if you'd gotten past Artis Gilmore, Jacksonville?
I thought that we had a very good chance to win the national championship if we would have gotten by. And I think in hindsight, we all knew without Casey, we had depleted our guards. We had a lot of young guards. Okay, yeah. Casey was a senior. And then when we threw McCowan off, our other experienced guard, I mean, Terry Mills did a nice job, but Stan Key played very well for a sophomore. Hollenbeck played very well for a sophomore. Those guys, you know, they really did a terrific job, but they were sophomores. If we could have come at somebody with Casey and McCowan at the guard spot, it would have been a pretty good backcourt. And then have these guys come off the bench, Mills and the young kids. But now we're faced with starting a sophomore and sophomores off the bench along with Terry Mills. Terry had not played much. Cameron Mills' dad. Yeah. Terrific shooter, but he hadn't played much until then. All of a sudden, we're playing guys who had not had much experience. So it was tough. That was we had a really good ball club because we had played, the three of us had played together since we were freshmen. And that means so much. Yeah. But that's all part of the games.
We come back on the Red and Blue Review. Mike was there for every dribble of Kentucky's most recent national championship. We'll find out from the All-American if this was a team for the ages. As we go to the break, Darrell will tell us about that basketball team that won championship number 8.
I do appreciate it very much. We have a book out called Celebrate, 136 pages, more than 100 photographs. We start with Big Blue Madness. We come full circle to the celebration at Rupp Arena the day after the championship. Only $10, available online, magazine.catchpaws.com.
Have you driven a Ford lately? Well, stop by Allstate Ford and test drive a new Edge or Explorer. Or visit us online at allstatetrucks.com. Allstate Ford on the Watterson at Poplar Level Road.
Buying your next VW from Bachman Volkswagen will be a great experience. No games or gimmicks, competitive prices, and a huge inventory make number 1 Bachman the place to get your Volkswagen. The all-new 2012 Jetta, an IHS top safety pick, is a great vehicle and fun to drive. Or get the sporty all-new 2012 Volkswagen Beetle. It's back and better than ever. Come to number 1 Bachman Volkswagen today to get your new Volkswagen before someone else does.
Bachman makes a difference.
So, did you hear the one about the star quarterback? He goes to this party, he gets like totally wasted, falls down an entire flight of steps. Boom, 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 boom. Wheelchair division. Get it? Paralyzed? Okay. Ooh, tough crowd, tough crowd. Okay, try this one now.
I just picked her up. We should be there in 20 minutes.
Who is it? Oh, it's him. Where is he?
I know. Yeah, I know.
Join the club at Sam Swope Auto Group. When you service a vehicle at any Sam Swope dealership, you automatically become a Service VIP Rewards member. You get member pricing on parts and service, lost key return, and emergency roadside assistance. Plus, you can earn points that qualify you for discounts on your next vehicle purchase, up to $2,500. The best part is becoming a member is free. Become a member today at any Sam Swope dealership. Nobody walks away because everybody saves.
Allstate Ford, 7-time recipient of Ford Motor Company's President's Award for Customer Satisfaction, with 13 Ford certified service technicians and a best-in-class parts department. Business or personal, we are the truck experts. Allstate Ford, on the Watterson at Poplar Level Road.
I may never coach another team like that. That team combined talent and a sharing attitude.
Welcome back to the Red and Blue Review. We're joined by Mike Pratt of the UK broadcast team, also a former Kentucky All-American. And Mike, you heard Coach Cal saying this was a team for the ages, 2012. Give me your take on that.
Well, I think it was. I think it's right up there at the top of all the Kentucky teams that have played there. And it's so hard to compare decades. You can't, every 10 years things change. For example, shoes are better now. Training is better now.
Sure.
You can play and be coached during the summer. You couldn't do that back then. So it's just really not fair. I mean, I look at what would Issel have been, and if he could have had somebody work with him around the clock like they do now, or had access to the gym. These guys walk right in, hit their car, they go in and shoot. Brandon Knight was known to be in there shooting. Kid Gilchrist and Terrence Jones all in there at night shooting. We couldn't get in the gym. and the baskets were taken down as soon as the season was over.
Wow.
The portable baskets were taken down. They used the floor for other things.
Right.
We couldn't get in when school started because they had registration. And then they only wanted to put the baskets back and take the tarps off when they wanted to. Okay? So we'd go down to Woodland Park or play out back of the dorms or things like that. So there's so many advantages these guys have now. And I don't begrudge them at all. I wish that we would have had them, but I think it's unfair to compare. Judge generations. I think every 10 years you can look at it and say, this is good, this is not as good. This year's team, though, has the ability to go down in history as one of the best, if not the best, depending on what happens afterwards. There's always a better team coming along.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always somebody who's out there to take your job, take your spot. But I think Cal hit it on the head. Not only were they talented, okay, but they were willing to share at both ends of the floor, defensively and offensively. And that doesn't come as easy as one would think. That's not an easy thing to do, to get guys with big reputations, used to shooting the ball, used to being the star, to blend and realize it's we, not I. That's hard to do. Every coach goes through that. The other thing they had was the big fella guarding the rim. Very seldom do you have a big man who can guard the rim like him. And then you have Jones, and then you have Miller and Kid Gilchrist, who also could guard it a little bit, not like Anthony could, okay? But he guards the rim. I mean, you watch the pro game, there's very few guys who can guard the rim like that. I mean, he has the anticipation, the length, and the quickness to guard that rim.
You mentioned Artis Gilmore. I've heard him compared to all kinds of other people. Do you think Anthony Davis is going to be one of those guys that we remember for years to come?
As a college player, yeah. And professionally, I think, and I hope what doesn't happen is that he goes to a team that's so bad that they put the pressure on him and it stunts his growth. I would hope that he goes to a team that's got a coach that really, and a staff that really wants to work with the guy and support him, Anthony. They also have a good locker room. It's very important to have a good locker room. And he's able to fight through losing. Having been a part of an expansion team in the NBA, it's awful to lose because it's so hard to control the locker room. And he's a good kid. He's just a wonderful guy to talk to and joke with. He really is a good young man. So I hope for all those things that it works out. But you look at John Wall, as talented as he is, how much of a difference did he make in the Wizards right off the bat? Now, I think he's poised to really make a big difference as they accumulate talent. But it's unfair, as the one coach said, he's make the team 50 games better. Come on.
Yeah, that's a lot of games.
Come on. Evidently, he hadn't played or worked in that league to understand what it takes to make. Rajon Rondo sat for a year until they put the right pieces around him. Now he's become and developed, confidence-wise, a terrific player. Just takes some time.
Mike, with these players that come along now, since we only see them for a year, we got to know and like Mike Pratt because we saw him play for 3 or 4 years. Now these guys are coming and going so quickly. Even though they win a championship, will they be regaled by the fans in years to come because they don't have long enough to really get to know them?
No, I think they will. And here's why, Gary. I think that these young fellas live in a big glass bowl, much bigger than the one we lived in, and they seem to be able to live in it very well. They've been very good to the fans. They've been receptive of all the adulation and all the things that go on with playing at Kentucky or playing at Louisville, wherever basketball is a priority, and they haven't ran from it. So they have a good feeling. They connected with the fans. As long as they connect with the fans, I think long-term things will be fine.
One of the big controversies that boiled up this summer had to do with how Cal is scheduling. Obviously, the IU series is at least on pause for now. It may be rejoined later. Give me your thoughts about how Cal is going about scheduling basketball.
I think that he's not the first one to start it. Coach Rupp played Dean Smith's teams, Carolina, when I was there, in Greensboro and in Charlotte. So he's not the first guy to do this. Bob Knight said he would never come back in 1985, Birdman. He'd never come back to play Rupp Arena. Because he felt that Eddie Sutton had hosed him on referees. So they go to Indianapolis and play. This is not something new. All Cal has done is incorporated what he wants to do. He wants 2-year contracts, so he's able to move his team in different directions against different people, which helps recruiting. All that's his model. And let him run with that model. I wish they would still play Indiana, but I'm not coaching the team. Plus, they don't get it up there, I don't think. Kentucky has given up their home game this year, given up 2 games. One of them was a designated home game, should have been a home game, to play in Indianapolis. I mean, what more can you want? You only have to go 45 minutes up the road. Kentucky's got to get in a bus and go 3 hours. And you don't like that because they won't give you 2 more games when Kentucky has said, this is my model. Carolina's in the model. Louisville's in the model. Everybody's happy. We'll play, but this is the model. I mean, what were they thinking? What was the athletic director there thinking? I mean, and then he's got the nerve to come out and say that Kentucky gets everything they want. I don't, let's just play the game, okay? Let's just play. Let's put the court out in downtown Louisville, play the game. Put the court out in the Commonwealth Stadium, let's play the game. Let's, I think it's so childish on their part, particular, when you got as much as you got. And I hope this is not an arrogant statement, but I think Indiana needs a game more than Kentucky.
Yeah, they're trying to build.
They got North Carolina coming back, Louisville every year. Okay.
We come back on the Red and Blue Review. We'll talk to Mike to find out about the guys who are leaving Kentucky now as they head on to the pros. Which one of those guys are most likely to stick and have an impact? As we go to the break, Howie's going to tell us how Card fans can have an impact this summer on CardinalSports.com.
Absolutely. We're talking a lot about Kentucky in this show, but online you can check out all the news about Louisville. Check it out at CardinalSports.com. Basketball recruiting, football recruiting, everything you want to know. Check it out.
Have you driven a Ford lately? Well, stop by Allstate Ford and test drive a new Edge or Explorer. Or visit us online at allstatetrucks.com. Allstate Ford on the Watterson at Poplar Level Road.
Buying your next VW from Bachman Volkswagen will be a great experience. No games or gimmicks, competitive prices, and a huge inventory make #1 Bachman the place to get your Volkswagen. The all-new 2012 Jetta, an IHS top safety pick, is a great vehicle and fun to drive. Or get the sporty all-new 2012 Volkswagen Beetle. It's back and better than ever. Come to #1 Bachman Volkswagen today to get your new Volkswagen before someone else does.
Bachman makes a difference.
So, did you hear the one about the star quarterback? He goes to this party, he gets like totally wasted, falls down an entire flight of steps. Boom, 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 boom. Wheelchair division. Get it? Paralyzed? Okay. Ooh, tough crowd, tough crowd. Okay, try this one now.
Yeah, I just picked her up. We should be there in 20 minutes.
Who is it? Oh, it's him. Where is he?
I know. Yeah, I know.
Join the club at Sam Swope Auto Group. When you service a vehicle at any Sam Swope dealership, you automatically become a Service VIP Rewards member. You get member pricing on parts and service, lost key return, and emergency roadside assistance. Plus, you can earn points that qualify you for discounts on your next vehicle purchase, up to $2,500. The best part is becoming a member is free. Become a member today at any Sam Swope dealership. Nobody walks away because everybody saves.
Allstate Ford, 7-time recipient of Ford Motor Company's President's Award for Customer Satisfaction, with 13 Ford certified service technicians and a best-in-class parts department. Business or personal, we are the truck experts. Allstate Ford, on the Watterson at Poplar Level Road.
It would be a neat thing 5 players drafted in the first round has only been done one time in the history of the sport by us 2 years ago. 6 players drafted in the first round. It'll never be done again if it happens, unless it happens here again. It won't happen anywhere else. So it may happen again, but it's only going to be here.
Well, you saw the banner. Cal is putting banners on the wall and players in the pros, and we're joined by Mike Pratt as we're talking about UK basketball past, present, and future.
Yeah, Mike, I wanted to pick it up because we talked about Anthony Davis earlier about his status. What about the rest of the 5 guys? Cal's throwing out the possibility all of them could be first rounders. Do you see that as a possibility? And how do you see some of the guys playing out?
I do see that as a possibility. I've talked to enough pro people to know that there's a lot of interest in Darius Miller late in the first round, a lot. And now I guess Teague they're talking about Teague 18 to 24, somewhere in there. He could go a little further than that. And then Lamb's name keeps popping up because of the shooter situation. Really? And I think he's going to get a good look here late in the first. I mean, the European market is dried up, and you have to pick some. We used to say when I was with the original Charlotte Hornets, you don't want to pick, but everybody's got to pick somebody. Yeah. So you're sitting there late in that draft, and you say, what is the one thing this guy does at NBA level? What one thing does he do with Deron Lamb? He shoots it.
All right, 30 seconds about left in the show. Howie, you had a question about
that. I'm wondering about Kyle Kuric. He's kind of a borderline pro guy, but you mentioned earlier about if you can really shoot, if he could he find a niche somewhere in there?
I think you've got 3 pros, maybe 4 on this Louisville team next year. I mean, let's be honest, a very good ball club coming back. Kuric, I think, could be picked in the second round. If he's not picked, he may be better off because he can shop himself around. I think he's a guy that, much like a lot of guys who go to the minor league, learn to play, learn to do other things, but can still shoot, find their way back. Azubuike is one, find their way back to the Big Ten.
Mike, thanks so much for joining us this week. One of the legends on the Red and Blue Review.
When you visit Kentucky and savor some of its unique experiences, you'll be surprised by how much your vacation really comes to life. To plan your Kentucky vacation, call today or visit KentuckyTourism.com.